right, we back in here. Peace. What's going on? What's going on? We back in here. What's up? What's up? What's up, Spinosaurus? What's up, Dank Wizard? What's up, Dark Monitor? What's up, Bobby? That demonic ASMR you did had a tingly, energetic healing effect to it. Good work. Absolutely. I will be bringing more of that content to this channel. We'll be doing more ASMR, and for those who are not into ASMR, I will be uploading more isochronic tones slash binaural beats. For those who are familiar, I've been uploading binaural beats, isochronic tones throughout the years, but I stopped doing it for a time being. But I will start to produce more of the binaural beats, isochronic tones, to just to help people to relax and to get more meditative and to activate more of their psychic centers. Again, 2020 is all about activating your psychic senses, your higher chakras. And the best aid we can have in doing that is sound. So once we understand the secrets of sound and how to manipulate our consciousness with sound, then we're moving in the right direction. But that's moving forward. Let's speak about why we're here right now. We're here right now to speak about retrogrades and why they cause so much chaos. And the imagery you see before you is one of my unique creations, as I like to produce art that allows everyone to see something different. So everyone looking at this photo is not going to necessarily see the same thing, as it depends on the contents of your own consciousness. But I will use this as a symbol to make this point of how retrogrades work and what to do about them. And this will, of course, be an original perspective. This is not coming from a book. This is not coming from someone else. This is an original manifestation just by me observing what has been occurring in real time and putting it with all of the things that can be studied in accordance to astrology, numerology, so on and so forth. So let me put on the next song and we'll get right into it. And also, the reason I play that type of music is to create the same type of effect. So once again, the reason why you hear all this twisty, chopped and screwed type music is to produce an effect so I don't have to just talk over the music, and it allows the music to more so blend with the environment as opposed of contrasting the environment, because that's the way we use music naturally. Like when you turn on some type of music or any type of sound or pattern, the purpose of that sound and the purpose of that pattern is to create a contrast in the environment. So if the environment, let's just say, is low vibrational, you can put on a track to make it high vibrational, and that's the purpose of music. And again, I see the $20 donation once again from Moon Spirit. I appreciate you so much. I definitely can appreciate the continuous support because I see you stay putting the money down. And I appreciate everyone who continues to support via the website, the Cash App, the Super Chat, whatever. Anyone who appreciate this, I ultimately appreciate it because we keep each other going. So I just want to make that clear that all type of support is appreciated, and we will continue to lay it down and keep things original, keep things new, keep things to where this is the only place on the internet you can access this energy. So I wanted to create an environment where this is the only place you can come to open up channels and open up portals where we can channel down information that is already in existence, but it may not be physical yet, it may not be crystallized, it may not be in the book yet, someone else may not have spoke about it yet, but this will be an opportunity for us to open up new paths and new waves. So let me put on the next track and we will continue going deeper. Now the basic definition of a retrograde, the basic definition pretty much explains the planet as appearing to move backwards. So if we look at the degrees of a retrograde planet, let's just say if it's 22 degrees, then it starts moving backwards 21 degrees, 20 degrees, 19 degrees, 18 degrees. It begins moving backwards. Now, once it gets out of the retrograde phase, it begins moving forward again 18, 19, 20, 21, so on and so forth. So during this time of reversal, when the planet moves backwards, it has been observed that it creates a pretty chaotic environment. As we know, Mercury retrograde happens multiple times per year. And it's very well known that Mercury retrograde causes a lot of things to misstep, causes technology to shut down, restart, communications, anything involved in messaging and exchanging information, there's some type of delay. So the main things or the main energy in the mainstream ideology of astrology speaks about retrograde as delaying energies because the planet is moving backwards. But let's take it a step further. What is going on when the planet is moving backwards? Once again, this is why I have the image before you. Let me see if I can zoom in to make it a little clearer. So, for most people, what they see is a grim reaper or a hooded being. You see in the very center, you see a hooded being. This hooded being has, you see the yellow part in the middle, you can say it's his hands. You can say this hooded being, and there's a bunch of spirits or demonic spirits with wings. I'm just describing what I see. You may be seeing something completely different. Now, below this being, you may see this alien type figure with glowing eyes. You may see this blue alien figure with glowing eyes, with a green aura around his head. Then you may see this alien type being emerge or submerged in a blood river with different types of beings surrounding it. So this imagery is multi-dimensional as you have things going or happening in the sky, you have things happening on the earth, and you have things happening on a subterranean plane. From this perspective, we understand that the retrograde, if it's moving backwards, it's more so instead of affecting the earth directly, it begins to affect the subterranean planes. So when a planet is going retrograde, it influences the subterranean planes, or in other words, the infernal planes, in other words, the hellish planes, the dark side, the left-handed path. So let's take it a step further. So if a retrograde planet is influencing the subterranean planes directly versus the earthly planes directly, what exactly is occurring in the subterranean planes and what effect will that cause or would that cause? When the subterranean planes, or we can say the land of the dead, because remember, in ancient thought, heaven is at the center of the earth instead of hell. So in modern times, when we think about the subterranean planes and the infernal planes, we think about devilish beings. But it's also noted in Greek mythology that Hades, who is the ruler or lord of the underworld, there's three different dimensions or planes to the underworld, depending on what deeds you committed. And one particular plane of the underworld, it is reserved for the warriors, and they actually live in a paradise. This is recorded in Greek mythology. So there is actually a paradise in the realm of Hades, or hell as we call it. And this is also noted in voodoo. So these subterranean planes have been recorded ever since ancient time. We've been digging all types of tunnels and pathways that lead to other places. We've been doing this all the time. But what does it mean when you go beneath the earth, when you go into the earth, when you start digging things up that were once hidden or that were usually hidden? We'll deal with this in just a second. When the planets directly influence the subterranean plane, this means that something that was once hidden will be revealed. Just to put it very simply and very plainly, when a retrograde energy is activated, something that was hidden or disguised will be unveiled. Something that was deep, either into the earth or, in this case, the unconscious mind, because the land of the dead is also the unconscious mind. It's also the collective unconscious, it's also the Akashic records. It's all one and the same. The only difference is the tradition. So when the planets go retrograde, what is hidden will come to light. So how that manifests in real time will be dependent on the attributes of the planet in question, or the several planets in question. But the main thing to take from the retrograde energy is there is a law called the law of reversal. There's a law called the law of reversal. If you apply the law of reversal to all things, including the planets, as we know, all zodiac signs have positive and negative attributes. So this also includes the planets. All planets have positive and negative attributes. What does this mean? So when the planet is in retrograde, you can say it is manifesting its negative attributes. However, even negativity has a polarity. What do I mean? We know about positive and negative energy. But if you split that positive, let's just use a magnet for example, just to make this even clearer. If you cut a magnet in half, it becomes two magnets. One magnet has a north and a south pole. So if you cut this magnet in half, it is no longer one polar and one negative, or one positive pole and one negative pole. You now have two separate magnets, because this is the law of magnetism. The law of magnetism means that when you separate a magnet, it becomes two. It's the same thing with an atom. If you were to crack a atom, you will release a bunch of subatomic particles. Those subatomic particles will eventually become atoms once they collect more energy, because it is a natural process of law how things evolve and grow as they absorb their likeness, because magnetism is always being applied, as every magnet and every atom has a positive and a negative charge. Neurons, electrons, protons. It's the same science. So when we apply this to astrology and we apply this to what's going on in real time, we can see it from the perspective of, you can say, when a energy is retrograde, the spirits begin to navigate through the people, meaning spiritual energy becomes stronger than physical or earthly energy. And I'll go deeper into that in just a second. When spiritual energy becomes greater than physical energy, that means the voice or the whispers of the spirits become louder. The whispers of the spirit affects the subconscious mind as well as the unconscious mind. So when the spirit's voice or the spirit's whispers become louder due to a retrograde, in this case the Neptune retrograde, because that's the energy that is coming up, because retrograde rules over the unconscious mind, as I explained last video. Because Neptune is going into retrograde, that means the unconscious mind will speak louder. The spiritual energy, the subterranean spiritual energy, as we call demons, archdevils, so on and so forth, their voices becomes louder. Which is why we are seeing so much chaos in the world, because the will of the subterranean spirits are dominant at this particular time, because we have so many planets in retrograde simultaneously. Their voices speak louder and louder and louder and louder. So what does this mean? This is why people are no longer waiting for laws to be passed. They are taking power into their own hands, which is why we see people tearing down statues. The statue of Albert Pike, because they just toppled the statue last night in Washington, D.C. They just pulled it down. The videos are all over Twitter. However, in the system, they were trying to remove that statue since the early 90s. So it's been over 30 years that the system has been trying to remove that statue. and they have gotten nowhere in 30 years until the people found some rope and some power and took it down themselves in a night. So, what could not be done in 30 years of following the system was done overnight. As we know, that's the Uranian consciousness, that's the Uranian energy. Things are moving in hyper speed. We come into the consciousness that we can actually do this ourselves. Why are we waiting on a system that drags his ass purposely because they really want to disguise the real culture and put something else in front of you? This is why they tried to manipulate the minds with the virus. Then the spirit took over, and now everyone is no longer afraid and fearful as they were just weeks before when everyone was stuck in the house. Now everyone has been empowered to at least, all right, I'm going to at least protect myself, but no one is in the same type of fear that we were being mind controlled to submit to. The spirit took over because of the planetary retrogrades. Those darker, demonic, subterranean spirits took, and it spread all over the planet to the point where it has reached Tokyo. They are protesting all the way in Tokyo on the other side of the planet where they're a whole day ahead of us. So it took about 3 weeks for this energy to reach the entire planet, to the point where now everyone wants to come outside after being afraid to even be amongst each other. So somehow the energy of coming outside for one common cause defeats the fear of death. Because you say you can still die from this virus, but people are still out putting in dark demonic work. So I'm not speaking about the people who are peacefully protesting because they are serving their purpose. But then you have other spirits who have their own goals, like we're just going to do it ourselves. We're going to take matters into our own hands, whether positive or negative. So this is why we have many different moving pieces happening simultaneously, because at this rate, moving at the speed of Uranus, moving at the speed of being able to make things happen almost instantaneously versus waiting forever. The 21st century consciousness is embedded in the energy of Aquarius. As we know, Aquarius is the rebel. Why we're seeing so much rebellion from the entire world at this point? Why is the entire world united for one common cause? Because we all understand that the system set in place was not in your favor. It was actually to keep you muted and to keep you silent. It was not to allow you to make things happen without suffering consequence. But as we see, the people are no longer afraid of the consequence because every day people are being locked up. And actually, on Rikers Island in New York, there were actually people who escaped out of prison because there's so many people, you can't possibly keep track of everyone who actually breaking out of jail as well. This is the subterranean energy that we can't pinpoint to just one person because it is a collective energy. That's what Neptune represents. Neptune represents the collectivity of consciousness when consciousness merges for one common cause. So all solutions can be pulled directly out of the ectoplasm. So the next thing is, what can we do about this retrograde energy and any retrograde energy? How do you counteract these darker moving forces that cleanse the planet? The planet is cleansed with dark energy. Not many people understand this, but let me get into this in just a second. When the planet cleanses itself, it does so with dark energy. This is why hurricanes happen. This is why floods happen. This is why fires happen. All of these natural disasters. All of these necessary tools and devices of the earth are necessary for purification and cleansing. So, because we are dealing with darker energy, you can even say the virus itself is a manifestation of dark energy. So, this entire year of 2020 has been about dark energy, the manifestation of dark energy, and that's what we are seeing. Whether it's the darkness from the cops or the darkness from the people, we are seeing darkness happen on both sides. And then the sides clash with each other. So we have darkness clashing with more darkness, which produces even more darkness. And we are reaching the apex when we hit the sixth planet retrograde, which will happen again in the month of September. So the sixth planet retrograde happens 2 times this year, and this is the only year that it happens twice. It's going to happen once every year after this year. So essentially, every these six planet retrogrades, the first time it happened was in 2018. Then the last time it will happen is in 2024. The great thing or the interesting thing about that is these are all the years that Trump will be in office, because everyone wonders, is he's going to be reelected, and they didn't even realize that he was going to be in the office the first time. All this also plays into this. So the reason I even bring him up, it's not even about what he's doing on a personal level. It has nothing to do with how people feel about him. It is all about the position he plays on the grand board. He was meant to occupy this position on the grand board. This is why six planet retrogrades are happening, and he will be in office when it happens. As he is in office currently, and all these things are happening, and people are like, oh, he's saying crazy things. He wants to shoot people and all that. All this is a manifestation of retrograde energy. This is why they say he's just promoting the madness. He just wants even more madness. You're absolutely right. Just like the people want more madness, the cops want more madness. Why? Because the planetary energy is bringing forth the subterranean energy that needs to be released. So, what we are experiencing is the release of subterranean energies that are necessary to cleanse the planet in and of itself, because it is still Amazon fires going on. They are destroying the Amazon forest. As we know, is vast history of the Amazons that we still don't know about, and they're burning the lands. They're also destroying tunnels, ancient tunnels that have all types of culture and history, and they're literally just destroying it without any type of attachment or emotion. Why? Because you cannot reform. Because this is also a question on people's minds. Can you truly reform the police? My answer is no. You cannot reform something that was created in darkness. As we know, the officer was first the overseer, and the overseer was the oppressor. All of these are the same type of energy, and these energies are rooted in darkness. You're not going to make something rooted in darkness pure. Now, is it possible to do this? Yes, because this is why Neptune is also the planet of alchemy. And this is where the counterbalance comes in, because Neptune does represent alchemy. So it is possible that you can take and channel all of this darkness and transmute the energy. It is very possible, but you need the energy of Neptune to do so. So if you ask yourself, well, what can I do in these 2 days of the sixth planet retrograde? Well, you can do something in honorance to the energy of Neptune. Or if we want to be more scientific, you can create a ritual to access your unconscious mind. Just as simple as that. Create a ritual to access your unconscious because it's wide open right now for this little bitty window, because Neptune will continue to be in retrograde after these 2 days, but I believe the planet Venus goes out of retrograde a couple of days after Neptune goes into retrograde. So one planet will be going in retrograde and another planet will be going out of retrograde. So we have this 2 day period from essentially Monday night to Wednesday night. You have that window Monday night to Wednesday night to craft something ritualistic in accordance to your beliefs, in accordance to your tradition, to create a path, to create a opening for you to channel nuclear forces. And I'm going to make that point right after this. So this is the time to tap into the nuclear consciousness. What is the nuclear consciousness? For people who understand nuclear warfare, like dropping nukes, this will pretty much destroy everything. It creates that mushroom cloud. Everything is being destroyed. The only thing that would probably survive a nuke is roaches, right? The only thing that survives nukes is roaches. So nuclear power can also power a planet. And this will happen at some point in the future, where the planet will be powered by nuclear power from the center of the earth. This will happen in the future. However, we don't have to get too deep into that, but nuclear power is explosive, transformative energies that once they enter into a atmosphere, they completely alter it. So whenever you are dealing with this amount of concentrated energy, whenever you're dealing, because you can say this is the highest amount of concentrated planetary energy that you can have. So there is no 7 planet, 8 planet, 9 planet retrograde. The highest concentration of retrograde planetary energy is 6 planets. So this is literally the highest amount of concentrated energy possible in the stars. So with this highest amount of concentrated energy, we see why the planet is being flipped upside down. And I am I advise people to pay attention to what happens between Monday and Wednesday. Because the planets, remember, I've made predictions in the past. I didn't want to just make a whole channel about predictions because that would get pretty boring. Because I would prefer people see these things in real time than come back and do the mathematics and see why it happened. So you may not be able to predict the future, but you can study the past. And because you can study the past, once something already happens, you can figure out why it happened once you understand the science. So once whatever happened, then you can go back and find out, well, what caused that? Well, okay, it was this planet, it was this attribute, it was that attribute. And once you understand what causes what, you can document your findings. This is what studying the occult is all about. You are documenting your findings based on the mathematical formulas that you discover with your own observation. You begin to document your findings, and eventually you create your own belief system based off of what you have observed, because you are paying attention to the occult energies of every single atmosphere. You know how to decode any and everything around you by going deeper into your own consciousness. Whenever we perform any act of divination, whether that's astrology, whether that's numerology, whether that's crystal ball gazing, whether that's utilizing crystal energies, whether that's reading tarot cards, so on and so forth. Any types of form, the seven forbidden arts, any form of divination is you going deeper into your own consciousness and pulling out treasures and jewels you otherwise would not have access to. So you can utilize those same arts to figure out the past. You can utilize those same arts to figure out the present. You can utilize those same arts to figure out the future. That's why when you study most demons and most dark spirits, they deal with telling you the past, present, and future. That's one of their attributes, because it's simply going deeper into your own consciousness and realizing these patterns create these effects. But the only way you know what pattern produces what effect is studying it and seeing it happen in real time. This is why the occult is so important, because you can study and see it in real time. This is not a dead science that used to be alive, that used to be popping, and now it's not. These same attributes are still playing out. You got the same planets in the sky. They're going through their attributes all the time. Nothing has changed. The sun, moon, and stars has not changed. Regardless of what happens on this planet, the sun, moon, and stars are still rotating around the universe. They have not changed, and no person is going to alter their movements. So we don't have to be concerned with what's going on here on the earth, because the earth is just playing out what's going on in the stars. So when you know directly what's going on in the stars, then what happens on the earth is only a result, and you can study that result as it happens, or if it has happened in the past and before it happens. All this is a attribute of knowing how to go deeper into consciousness, because all solutions are already hidden within the realms of the unconscious mind that we call the Akashic records, which is channeled through the energy or planet of Neptune. So when Neptune goes retrograde, the whispers of the subterranean spirits speak louder, and when they speak, they can tell you things you otherwise would not know just utilizing your normal consciousness. Once you tap into the Akashic records, now things that were hard to figure out become easy. Things that are hard to do become easier when you access the back of your mind, your alter ego, because Neptune rules over your alter ego. Your alter ego is used to dissolve your ego so that you can transform yourself. Firstly, through consciousness. When you transform your consciousness, that transforms your thoughts, and that transforms your actions, your deeds, and also your body. You will look completely different. You will think completely different, and you will have access to different forms of consciousness when you understand what does what. But it's a secret till you put the work in and dig it up. Everybody's job is to dig into the depths of their own consciousness, specifically your unconscious mind, because that's where the real treasures are hidden. The base of it is the subconscious mind. That's where the basic treasures are hidden, where you can be creative. You have to tap into your subconscious mind to be creative. So any form of creativity, you can say, is you channeling energies from your subconscious mind. So if we're talking about the unconscious mind, we're going a step further than just pure creativity. Now we're going into the darkness. Now we're going into the alter ego. Your alter ego is you without consequence. If you can do whatever you want it to do and be whatever you want it to be without consequence, that's what your alter ego is, because your alter ego exists inside your consciousness, or inside your mind, if you want to put it that way. So inside your mind, you make up your own rules and regulations. You are the master of your own mind. So your alter ego occupies that space where you are the ruler, where you are the god of that reality. You set the stage. So in the realm where you set the stage, you can comprehend that you would be completely different than you are where you do not set the rules. So the alter ego already exists within our consciousness, within this world that we create. All this is happening on an unconscious level. This is a necessary polarity that exists. Because we have an ego, we must have an alter ego, because that's the universal law of polarity. Because we have an ego, we must have an alter ego. So this is happening. This is not, whether it's conscious or unconscious, this is happening anyway. Let's go to the next one. Have I heard about the green-eyed people? It really all depends on who it's coming from. So a better question would be, from what perspective? Like who are you speaking about? Like what book does it come from? What person does that come from? You know, because I can quickly do it. I can quickly do the Google search, and we can look it up instantaneously. So if you can provide that, then we can look that up instantaneously. But getting back to the unconscious mind, the unconscious mind is more animalistic than the subconscious mind. So in other words, the unconscious mind is chaos. Neptune is chaos. That's why artists are chaos energy. Alchemists are chaos energy. So on one side you have artists, on the other side you have alchemists. They are the opposites of each other because they both are within the domain of the Neptunian chaos of the unconscious mind. So the unconscious mind is the animal within all beings. So our unconscious mind, again, is the most uncivilized aspect of ourselves, as we call the inner child. That's just another way of putting it, the inner child, where you're just doing whatever you please because ain't no one going to tell you different. So this is your most uncivilized form. So obviously this unconscious or this alter ego is too chaotic to exist in this world, in the material plane. So we forge a ego that is refined enough to coexist in this domain. Now, Dank Wizard says the lower chakras in the legs symbolize the unconscious murder and confusion. When it comes to the lower chakras beyond or below the root chakra, just to put that into perspective, since it was mentioned, it's not that the legs are unrefined, because look at it from astrology. If we correlate the 12 zodiac signs to the 12 parts of the body, the upper part of the body are the personal signs, and the lower part of the body are the impersonal signs. So essentially, Aries would be at the head. Then from Aries to Virgo, those are the personal signs. Once you get to Libra to Pisces, those are the impersonal signs. And Libra starts right at the hips. So once you enter into the leg area, you're dealing with the impersonal signs. If we want to correlate it to the zodiac, just to not confuse people, because you may say that, but again, like, where do we get that information? How do we study it? How do we verify it? So that's why, if we throw out what we throw out, we want to be able to verify it so that we can go back, filter it, and refine it if necessary. So just like I said, the 12 zodiac correlated with the body parts. Anybody can Google that right now and see exactly what I'm talking about. It can be instantaneously verified. So if the legs and the lower chakras are dealing with the impersonal signs, they are considered the darker signs. The impersonal signs are the darker signs. So from that perspective of these are darker energies, they are correct from that aspect, because once you deal with Libra all the way to Pisces, these are very dark energies because they are impersonal signs. So they are more in tune with the darkness or more in tune with the chaos. So what does that mean? For example, if we just go down the list of the impersonal signs: Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces. So what's good to note is Aquarius is one of the darker signs. So since we are in the age of Aquarius, that should give a better understanding of why we are seeing and experiencing so much chaos, because we are in a 4 year, and Uranus be- connecting with the number 4. Uranus corresponds to the number 4, and Uranus rules over the zodiac sign of Aquarius. So because this is a Uranian year, we can understand why that darker Aquarian energy is manifesting rapidly. So if we think about Libra, Libra is the only zodiac sign that is not connected to some type of animal, because Libra is represented as the scales. And we know scales don't just occur naturally in nature, they have to be made by the hand. Scales have to be crafted. So as soon as we enter into Libra, we are enter into a cybernetic reality. Again, this is not coming from any books, any pre-designated. This is all in real time. Once you enter into the degree or the energy of Libra, you enter into the cybernetic reality. What do I mean? Because Libra is a air sign. So air signs are dealing with thought. They're dealing with consciousness. So whenever you're dealing with air, you're dealing with consciousness, you're dealing with thought. So when thought becomes cybernetic, you begin to forge things such as scales, because scales are not just something crafted by the hand, it also is a tool that is utilized in real time. It serves a real purpose in real time. So it's not just something artistic, it is artistic while serving a real time purpose that can be used every single day. Something that is artistically utilized every single day. So once you pass the threshold of Virgo to Libra, you go into that cybernetic consciousness where things become more sophisticated, as Libra is the most sophisticated thinker because they are absorbing information out of the air naturally, because they are cardinal air signs. Libra is a cardinal air sign, so they are naturally absorbing consciousness in their atmosphere naturally without thinking about it. We are depending on your sign, you have natural abilities. So they are the most sophisticated mentally, because the consciousness becomes cybernetic as we go into the deepness or the darkness of the zodiac. So once we cross over into the dark side of the zodiac, you can say you must apply the law of reversal, and that's what the scales truly represent. Because if we think about the scales, we know the famous story of your heart has to be weighed against a feather. The ancient story in Egypt where your heart must be lighter than a feather. If it is not lighter than a feather, then your soul will be consumed or devoured by ℏ, the chaos being. So you see that the scales have a multi-dimensional symbolism that you can leave it on the surface or you can take it all the way to spirituality. So the dark side of the zodiac is when things begin to get spiritual, or the potential. Because once you pass Libra, you go into the element or the zodiac of Scorpio. And we know Scorpio obviously is the darkest sign, or as they say, the most intense. Because although Scorpio is a water sign, it is ruled by Pluto, the infernal energies of Pluto. So Scorpios can appear to be fire signs, even though they are water signs, because they are ruled by a fire planet. The Scorpio energy represents shamanism. So the shaman is the Scorpio, the one who is able to go into different realms and dimensions of consciousness and bring back information. So basically, getting high and channeling spirits. So the shaman can get high and actually stay conscious and pull information out of the ethers and apply it in real time. While everyone else does it recreationally, the shaman does it spiritually, uses psychedelic drugs and the such to pull down information. So again, once we cross that threshold into the darkness of the zodiac, we understand why these elements start to coexist. Once we go into the Sagittarius energy, we know Sagittarius is half animal, half human. It has a animal legs like a horse and has a human torso. So Sagittarius has one foot in the dark side and one foot in the human reality. So the Sagittarius is not as dark as a Scorpio who is fully immersed into the waters. Now the Sagittarius shoots the arrow out because the symbol of the Sagittarius is shooting the arrow upward, out of the darkness and spreading the information that has been gathered and collected. Now that information is being spread by the arrow or taught. That's why Sagittarius energy rules over the ninth house, which represents education and teaching in universities and colleges. Places where you go to get educated, higher learning. Universities, higher learning. That's all Sagittarius. Once you get the Capricorn, Capricorn is the most cardinal sign of them all. That's why Capricorn is correlated with the devil. Because Capricorn is a master of the earth element. And the earth element is where we get sensuality from. People like to be around nice things, the texture of things, feeling nice. You know, this is all the earth sign, the Taurus, the Virgo, and the Capricorn. But what separates the Capricorn from the Taurus or the Virgo, because the Capricorn is on the dark side of the zodiac, the Capricorn specifically, because Capricorn is also represented by the horns. Whenever we think about the Capricorn, you think about the sea goat. You think about the goats or the sea goat, depending on what perspective you're coming from. So we think about Capricorn from the perspective of the goat. And of course, the goat is a symbol of fertility. The Capricorn deals more so with, you can say, BDSM, for those who are into the fetish community, BDSM, where they like pain and pleasure mixed. They are the masters of mixing pleasure and pain as they exist on the dark side. What does it mean? Let me take it a step further just to give this even more clarity. So Capricorn is being the master of pleasure and pain through sensuality. So pretty much their spirituality is channeled through sensuality. So you can say they are the most spiritual when they are the most cardinal. Just to make it make more sense. When they are the lowest, they are the highest. So that's how that works. When they are the lowest, they can tap into their true spirituality when they're doing the most demonic deeds. And again, that's per consciousness. What is demonic to one person may be angelic to the next person. So it's all about perspective. Once you enter into the Aquarian, who is symbolized as the water bearer, we see what's happening right now. Aquarius is the occultist. So what does that mean? The Aquarian mentality is the occultist. Whenever we deal with the Aquarian energy, because this happened back in the 70s, The whole Aquarian energy started back in the 70s. That's where a lot of information was released. And I know because I study astrology, and whenever I try to get older books, they're out of print. The most intricate and advanced books are out of print because they were not popular, but they came out in the 70s when that Aquarian energy was at the apex. So everything that we do now, or all of these things that we consider consciousness, that we consider woke, was planted in the 70s, or it all came together in the 70s. It all came together and unified under the Aquarian energy in the 70s. So all this, everything that people are doing now goes back to the 70s. So that's 50 years ago now. So we are 50 years into the Aquarian consciousness, you can say, when people start doing it on a collective level. So of course this information has been known, but collectively, when people started to just take consideration that consciousness has an effect on your reality, and that was the purpose of the 60s and the counterculture of the 60s and the psychedelic. So all that is the roots of the Aquarian age. So if you understand the counterculture of the 60s and the psychedelic music and the Beatles and Jimi Hendrix and all of this separation from the system, because the counterculture was all about separating from the system. So what we see now is just a echo of what we were seeing then. Once we understand how energy moves and it replicates itself and patterns itself based on what needs to be done at the current moment. Lastly, with Pisces is the martyr. That's who we see out in these streets, the foot soldiers, the Pisceans, the martyrs. They willing to die for it. They willing to go to jail for it. They willing to suffer any type of consequence. They do not care because they will sacrifice themselves for the greater good, and they have absolutely no problem with that because that's just how they are configured. So when you have a person that's going to strap a bomb on themselves and blow up a building or something of this nature, that may be extreme. But someone who's basically willing to stand outside past a curfew and may get arrested, that is the Piscean. All of these people occupying the streets are the Pisceans because that's what they naturally are inclined to do. To make their stand. That's how they make their stand. That's how they feel that they will add their energy to what's going on, either right now or what's going on at any point. Because Pisces rules over the feet. So that's why I call them foot soldiers, because just based on astrology and the zodiac, Pisces rules over the feet. And we know we are always on our feet. The feet is what's always absorbing the energy from the earth as we navigate the planet. What absorbs the energy is the feet. So the feet is taking all that pressure. The feet is taking all that pain. The feet absorbs all that and transmutes all that so that we are not affected negatively. So that energy that's able to absorb negative energy, that's the Piscean energy. They can absorb the negative energy. They can take that punch, absorb it, and go on about their life and feel good about it. They can take that L, they can take that loss and feel good about it. They're not going to miss a beat because they can absorb negative energy because they are also on the dark side of the zodiac. That's why Pisceans are so psychic, because they are constantly absorbing, or they can absorb or transmute. So I'm not going to say they are absorbing, but they can transmute negative energy. So this is a unique perspective of the retrograde currency, and hopefully that gives you a better understanding of what we are dealing with, what we will continue to deal with, and how that applies to you as you study your own alignments, as you study your own charts, as you study your own perspective and develop your own understanding of what you feel reality is and how you choose to activate your will in accordance to what you understand reality to be. So, on that note, I'm going to check out. I'm going to put more information on the website about this from a Kabbalistic perspective. I appreciate everybody for tuning in. And I will see you guys again. And be sure, if I will be uploading more ASMR, more isochronic tones, binaural beats once again. So for those who just want to kick back and relax and just tune out, I'll have content for you as well. So I'm just trying to do both sides. So those who just want the knowledge, who just want the information, I'm going to give you that information. And those who want to kick back and who want to channel, who want to get the information from their own unconscious, and you just need a aid to do that. So that's what the ASMR is for. That's what the isochronic tone. So if you just want to sit back and let the energy come to you, just be more magnetic instead of electric, then I'll have both sides for you. So I will also have the comments on for those videos. So any video that I do that's pre-recorded, I'm going to make sure to turn the comments on. And I keep the comments off just because this is very secretive, this is very intimate. There's no need for public opinion with what occurs within these chambers. So there's no room for public opinion because the only thing that is spoken is law. There is no need for anyone else outside of the collective to speak. So when you come in now, so we are able to speak when we are here. But other than that, there's no need for the public to have any say so about what happens here. So I keep everything hidden, away, and veiled for that very reason because this is what this is. None of this is for the public. The public is not going to care. They're not going to take the time to do these studies. They're not going to do anything in this realm of darkness. But for those who were born as I was born, to be initiated into the darker arts in whatever way you see fit, then this is simply a guide for you to go deeper into your own unconscious mind and pull out those hidden attributes that exist in the alter ego to advance your life in every dimension. Any form of advancement that you need or that you desire must come from the alter ego. All change must come from the alter ego, Neptune, or the land or dimension of alchemy. So be sure to check out the website, ℓ𝔓𝔞𝔫𝔢𝔱.com. Send me an email, ℓ@ℓ𝔓𝔞𝔫𝔢.com. Need any further information or any service that you can think of that deals with the occult, if you just need to have a conversation or a consultation rather, then don't hesitate to hit me up. Check out the Instagram, 𝔓𝔤𝔞𝔫𝔢𝔱. I believe that's my handle for more of my artistic side. So I'll be putting more imagery like this on my Instagram. So if you're interested in the creative energy that is manifested, basically just follow on the Instagram, or I'll also have the screenshots or whatever on the YouTube. So either way works. And lastly, if you want to support via Patreon, then the link should be in the description. So on that note, I'll see you guys soon. Peace.